What's going on, everyone? Coach Jason here.
Coach RJ.
Coach Big Bad Bob.
Coach Patrick.
So, guys, what keeps you interested and consistent with training? I know for me, being in the gym all the time for the last 10 years for work, like, it's funny. People say, like, oh, like working out must be so easy for you because you work at the gym, you're there all the time. But, like, when you're in, as anyone can relate to, when you're in the same place all day long, the last thing you want to do sometimes is stay there any longer. And, I mean, we all love this place so much. So, but even with how much we love it, you got to get out sometimes. So, I don't know who wants to chime in first about, like, how do you guys stick to the plan?
So the job I had before Mach 1, like I do personal training and I'd put in like 14, 16-hour days. And when you're training for 14, 16 hours and like dealing with 14 to 16 different people and personalities and goals and trying to remember everything that they need to work on, it, like your brain is fried, right? And after spending like every hour there from like you didn't even see the sun yet, like the last place you want to be is at the gym that you just spent your whole day. So like I used to actually go to a different gym to work out and just like get a change of scenery, honestly. But I think the reason I did go to a different gym was at the end of the day, like I still loved the actual way exercise made me feel, right? Like I always felt like it kind of gave me that second push. It kind of reset the clock for me. Yeah. And um, it kind of it's almost therapeutic in a way. It kind of was like, all right, I checked my boxes today. All those habits as that I tell my clients to do as a trainer, like I held myself accountable. I got all those same benefits. And I think for me, knowing what's on the other side of the workout is the motivating factor within itself. Just to say, punch the clock, come in, move and groove. Even if it's something simple like today, I just really focused on. I hit my 3x6 squats, two little accessories and some primers, and like, what are we doing in 30 minutes before our meeting today? Like, but I checked that off, and to me, I felt great after. Where I could have like went into that meeting like super like just frustrated and like not locked in because I didn't get that in. So I think for me personally, doing a lot of it is kind of that accomplishment and knowing what I can achieve through it.
Yeah, I think feeding off of that, kind of like walking the walk, if you will. In this in yeah, and talking the talk. But if we are telling our clients or patients like exercises to do, and like I can't even do it, or I don't know what they're going through, I think there's definitely value in like working with someone who's kind of been through the struggles that they're experiencing. And like, I don't know, like anything, am I going to take financial advice from someone who doesn't do anything revolved in finances? Same thing here. I would say, like, if you're working with a coach who doesn't work out, yeah, I don't know how that would work out. So for me, you could use the term motivation, you could use discipline, however you want to use that. But I think putting like my foot in the ring, and having a sense of like I am working out too with you guys. I always kind of talk in the sense of like we are doing something, like I'm in there with you because I'm going through the same day-to-day decisions and thoughts, like am I going to work out after a long day? But at the end of the day, when I get to the other side of the workout, I know that's the feeling I'm chasing. Like I feel so much better mentally, physically. So
Something like when I have like an opening shift before the first client comes in, I'll just hit like the primers for the day, like it's a little activation, get the glutes, get the shoulders, get the core fired up. And like it takes us 5 minutes to do it in a class setting. So why can't I do it 5 minutes before my first client comes in?
yeah.
Oh,
Is this thing on? is this thing on? Yeah, I didn't see the green at first. Yeah, I have like, I don't know. I kind of had like a really, I don't know. I kind of phase in and out of a very toxic relationship with powerlifting, where like I will train, and like if I don't feel like destroyed enough, then I don't think it's a good workout enough. So I had to get over that a little bit. So I'm going through it. I'm going like
learning. I'm getting more mature. But I
A
think
little powerlifting couples therapy. You and the barbell.
me and the barbell, yeah. Like if I like don't genuinely, there was at one point where like I didn't feel like genuinely like destroyed after a workout or like feel like I cannot do another thing. Then like to me it wasn't a good workout. So I had to really like get out of that. And I think the best way I got out of that was just doing a little bodybuilding and just getting a pump and then leaving and calling it a day. Because I think with like lifting, it's like if I don't like genuinely lift, I get like very like twitchy and I just feel like I get really like erratic. So I think I need lifting to like calm me down, which is like not like it's like a little ADHD thing, you know, but like I don't know. I think I like with powerlifting it does a really good job at like keeping me level headed on most things. And with
How do you keep like your mindset with powerlifting? Like, you know,
I don't
say
want to
you're
die
a little-
skinny.
There you go. Simple as that.
That's it.
Like the SpongeBob scene.
I need a
Right.
I think like genuinely, I think how I look at lifting too is like I never want to take a step back, which is like obviously life happens. Like you can't
It's always ebbs and flows.
ebbs and flows. Knock on wood. People get sick, injured, whatever it happens. Like there's never a point where you're always moving forward. But I think if it's in my
Scope out.
yeah, like
You're
if it's
moving
within
forward
my
or
control, I
upwards.
always want to be moving forward no matter the cost. And I think like how I do my lifts, like I look at my lifts as almost like and like the gym as a part of myself, which is something I definitely have to mature out of because I'm more than just a power lifter, I'm more than just a lifter. I'm a person. And like I think in the past I used to really always drive for forward momentum no matter the cost. And like I think nowadays I'm starting to like be a little bit more relaxed and understanding life happens, work's getting busier, and I'm not less of a lifter and less of like a person just because I didn't hit a lift today or something, or maybe did a modified version. And I think I'm getting myself. There's a strength that I'm trying to teach myself, not like on the barbell, but a strength of pulling myself away from it when I need to. It's sort of a strength I'm trying to learn this year, and just being comfortable with like just taking how it goes and just like doing what I can. And if I can't get the best workout in, then it's okay. That's all right.
The latex singlet, stop squatting with chains.
Exactly. Yeah. Like stop box squatting. All that stuff.
It's funny you mention all that because for me, like exercise in general, like you mentioned, like, oh, I need to get some movement in or like whatever, or else you get like twitchy. And like I think everyone does to an extent of like if you're just sedentary, like your body craves movement.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone does, whether they know it or not. So not to say that I am like naturally against that, but like I really don't love just a workout per se. So like the reason that like I love training and love being in the gym, like where that discipline really comes from for me at least, is training for something. And that's how I've always kept my mindset, even if a competition's not even like planned for me or any sort of like, I've done like Spartan races in the past, like whatever type of event I'm training for, even if nothing's like necessarily on the calendar, it's kind of like that mindset of like what you said, like you got to practice what you preach. Like you got to, if you're not ready, then you're not prepared, right? So for me, that's where my discipline with training is. I love competing in weightlifting, and if I'm not training consistently, then I'm not going to be able to compete and do something that I do love, or maybe it's even like playing like rec hockey or something like that, or snowboarding or whatever it might be that like I like feeling strong and athletic for. It's that keeps me like disciplined and motivated to be in the gym. Like it's the stuff outside of the gym.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of, back and forth with me and my goals for training as well. So like obviously we have the Olympic lifting side where we compete and we have fun and it gets kind of competitive and aggressive when you're out on the national stage. And if you go not prepared, you're not going to leave with the satisfaction, right? But then there's also like the part of training where like I'm a girl dad, so there's a little bit of like that I just need to put on 40 pounds of muscle and be intimidating for the next 18, 20 years, right? But then there's like I also have a PT test coming up for the military this month, so like I need to probably run a little bit more. And it's just like having a few different goals that I can kind of like ebb and flow into. Kind of keeps things fresh for me as well. But I kind of always have some sort of like mindset goal around training. So I can always be working towards something, even if like the discipline of like the Olympic lifts, like I don't have a full hour to get in and lock in and like build up my snatches. It's like I can hit a quick 15-minute arm sesh though and fill the sleeves up so I can work towards that like girl deck, like, body. So like that's like another part of training is like just having a little bit of flexibility as well. So that way, like it doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
Yeah, and I think to that point too, like an all or nothing mentality. Like you'll see a lot of that online with, I'm not anti motivation, but like motivation's short lived. You got to be all in. You got to be locked in. Like everything's got to be in play. And we know, working with people day to day, like that's just not how it works, right? So I think for me, whether we're training or we're talking physical therapy, like having someone motivated can be beneficial, but then like kind of channeling that into more discipline, makes their like day-to-day decisions a little easier to follow the goals, right? Like if you wake up and
back to is the goals.
yeah, yeah, like if you're not making these decisions to then assist like whatever action you're trying to like achieve, then it is going to be short-lived, right? You're not going to get the outcome that you want.
And like with motivation, it's like strike while the iron's hot, right? Like if you're motivated, that's when we're going to put in work. That's when we're cooking, But when you're unmotivated, that's where discipline takes over, and that's where we hold our ground. That's where we set the standards, and then from there, we're motivated. In a few weeks from now, we're going to take advantage of that. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
And I think like you kind of are saying, like motivation isn't necessarily something you can control. It's something that might just happen. Whereas discipline is a controllable, and I think the way that we're all saying in one way, shape, or form to stay disciplined is to have goals. And if you aren't consistently having goals and resetting them and retargeting them, having short term, long term, medium term, or like lateralized goals or whatever.
Realistic.
Well, of course, realistic. But just in general, if you are not striving for anything, there's no plan or discipline to adhere to.
It's like a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's your roadmap. So if you're relying solely on motivation to come and you don't have a goal, then what are you going to get motivated to do if you don't have anything to strive for? Whereas if you have a goal, you could stay disciplined and stay on track for that. Then that motivation kind of manifests out of nowhere because of like, you have something to reach for that you're passionate about.
Like a North Star, kind of.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I think like for me, like with powerlifting, like I think like that North Star is just like getting as strong as possible and just like competing at the next one, and whatever happens in the middle, it's like I just gotta figure that out day to day. And I think like it's always good to like map out what do you want to do. And I think like honestly, and this is just an opinion, I don't think there's nothing scientific, but I think as humans we need a purpose. I think that's where people get like stuck in life,
totally.
and like just like they just get
we all have a purpose. It's just like figuring it out.
I don't know if you're going first,
but it's funny you mentioned like trying to get as strong as possible as being like your main power. Ooh, are we all going? Yeah. All right.
Let's keep it going.
But like you mentioned, like getting as strong as possible is like the overarching powerlifting goal. I think something that has always been so fascinating and that draws me into just weightlifting as a goal of mine in general is like a fascination with like what's the peak. And like there's not several times, but there's times where I'm like, is this the most that I'm ever going to do? Like, when is that going to happen? And like, then you surprise yourself, like 2 years go by and you're like, oh wait, I just PR'd. And like, or 10 years might go by. I don't know what the future is going to hold. Like, I don't know if I've done my max on anything. I'm sure I have, but like, I'm sure there's more like PRs and stuff to come. I think that's such a fun endeavor to like work towards also is the unknown. Like it doesn't have to be so critically defined, but for me it's just like I love competing. I love not necessarily knowing what's to come, but striving for the best.
I think something we always talked about with like my meets was like after every meet, I never necessarily like I never was one to always like chase like a certain number because like for me like every time I hit a new number, it's very fleeting. Like I feel great for like 3 minutes and then I'm fully on the come down. I'm like, damn, like I could do 100 pounds more if I was stronger, like kind of thing. You know what I mean? So like I think like the numbers for me aren't really like what it is, but I remember every meet we always talk about like I want my like final attempts to be like working sets. I want like this number that was really heavy to be smooth. And like that to me was like what filled that like that palette of like purpose was like I want to make this weight so manageable that I can do it every week if I wanted to and it wouldn't affect my training. And like I think that coincides with my North Star that like maybe another power lifter has that exact same North Star, but his destinations and his like checkpoints look different than mine. And his is like, oh, I want to hit this PR, this PR, this PR. And like you know, I mean, I talk to guys that we coach, and like they all have their different type of like, you know, what brings them to like back to the gym. And but we're all of our goals are the same, which is kind of cool. It's like kind of think about.
Yeah, and I think at like what point, whether it's Olympic lifting, powerlifting, you know, like someone who's coming into the sport knew like these PRs are going to come a lot more often because you know they're learning, they're growing. It's just early on in the process, and then you know, like Jason, you were alluding to, like later on after training for a couple years, like you're not going to PR as often, and that could be like a difficult, you know, thing to work around, and you know, staying disciplined to like, you know, it's not going to happen every week, you know, but this work that I'm doing is to, you know, further myself when it comes to meet day.
Yeah.
Could really deviate from this conversation, right? And where we can talk about is like we reached our peak. You know, we're talking like Olympic level. You know, 4 years go by and you miss qualifying by 1 kilo, and it's just like, all right, it's like my time has come, you know. And then from there, it's like I've spent all this time training and preparing and learning the skill and building, and it's like now it's my time is to coach, right? And it's like
To do the trend.
to do the trend, right? No more regulations, but but like maybe it's like you know that's our time to coach, and we want someone else to experience you know that same North Star, right? And it's just like this is from my journey. I've learned these experiences, and I'm providing someone the opportunity to help align their journey and get them to their destination, and like getting that purpose, like we crave as humans, and you know we can really go into like I'm going to be training now and I'm going to be holding discipline for the person I am when I'm 30 years older than now, right? And it's just like I want to have these success stories and I want to be relatable and like I want to relate to the people that I'm working with, and whether that's, you know, clients or whether that's family or whatever. It's like, come here, Sonny, get on my now. You know, it's like, let me tell you about when I was weightlifter when I was your age, right? Like that might be the grander purpose because you know longevity is a byproduct of that, and it's like I just want to be functional and play with those grandkids, you know. And like we can really take so many different routes to like why discipline matters and like what our long-term goals are, and like that's kind of the best part about this is like it's your individual journey. And you know finding out what that is, your goals will change, they will deviate, and I feel that addressing those and checking in and making them realistic helps build that discipline. It's your reason you show up, and it keeps you going.
I feel like that's like not to steer too off topic from from what
Push the
we're
limits. Where are we going to peak?
where are we peaking in this podcast right now? But yeah, just not to steer off track too much. I feel like that's like a really good place to just like summarize everything, where it's like your discipline is equivalent to your goals. It could be girl dad, it could be competitions, it could be anything, you know, whatever it is for you. It's going to be different for the four of us. Even if they're similar, it's going to be different at the end of the day, like where the road takes us. And I think that's really just the key to staying disciplined and consistent, is finding something that you love that the training assists with, rather than making the training the thing that you love. Because some people are going to love it just to love it, but not everyone is. And if you don't find what your why is, then you're going to have a hard time, you know, embracing the motivation, you know, when it comes, because it's probably just not going to come. But yeah. Mach one up.
Mach one out.
Boom.
Boom.